Welcome to Midnight Scary Tales, your sanctuary for the eeriest, most spine-chilling true stories the world has ever known. Here, reality intertwines with fear, and the darkest corners of human experience come to light. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join our community of brave souls who dare to confront the unknown. Tonight, we unravel a tale that defies logic, plunging into the realm of the truly disturbing. Hold tight as we explore The Vanishing Town. In 2003, three friends, Amy, Mark, and Rachel, decided to embark on a road trip through rural West Virginia. They were adventurous souls, always seeking out forgotten places and hidden stories. Their journey led them to an old, unmarked dirt road that wasn't on any map. Intrigued, they followed it. The road was narrow and winding, with dense trees on either side. As they drove deeper into the forest, an unsettling silence fell over them. The usual sounds of nature, birds chirping, leaves rustling, were eerily absent. Rachel joked about finding a town of ghosts, but her laugh sounded forced. After an hour, they arrived at a small, isolated town. It was picturesque, almost too perfect. Quaint houses with white picket fences, a general store, a church with a tall steeple. But something felt off. There were no people, no cars, no signs of life. "It's like time stopped here," Amy whispered. The trio decided to explore. The general store's door creaked open, revealing shelves stocked with goods from decades past. Expired canned food, dusty bottles, and an old cash register frozen mid-transaction. A newspaper on the counter was dated July 15th, 1952. Mark found a journal behind the counter. Its entries were mundane at first, describing the daily life of the storekeeper. But the last entry was chilling. "They've come. The preacher warned us, but we didn't listen. We locked the doors, but it's too late. They're in the shadows watching. If you're reading this, leave now, don't look back." They exchanged uneasy glances, but decided to press on. At the church, the door was slightly ajar. Inside, pews were neatly arranged and a Bible lay open on the pulpit. However, the air felt heavy, oppressive. Rachel noticed scratch marks on the walls and a phrase etched into the wood: "Beware the night." As they left the church, the sun began to set. The town, which had been unsettlingly still, now felt menacing. Shadows lengthened, and a low hum seemed to emanate from the forest. Panicking, they ran back to the car, but the road they had come in on was gone. Instead, there were rows of identical houses, all with their doors slightly open. From the darkness within, they could hear faint whispers and footsteps. Desperate, Mark suggested heading toward the forest on foot, believing it was their only chance. As they ran, the whispers grew louder, turning into guttural growls. Amy screamed as she glanced back and saw figures emerging from the houses. Pale, eyeless beings with elongated limbs and distorted faces. They reached the tree line and sprinted into the woods. The creatures didn't follow, but the forest was no less terrifying. The hum was louder now, and the air seemed to vibrate with an unnatural energy. Mark tripped and fell, revealing a skeletal hand protruding from the ground. After what felt like hours, they burst onto a paved highway. A passing truck stopped, and the driver helped them. When they looked back, the dirt road and forest were gone. In their place was an open field. Years later, Amy tried to locate the town using maps and online forums, but found nothing. Local historians told her there had been a settlement in that area, but it vanished in the 1950s under mysterious circumstances. Some said the residents had fallen victim to a cult. Others believed it was something far darker. To this day, Amy, Mark, and Rachel refuse to talk about what happened. But they all agree on one thing: whatever they encountered wasn't human. Thank you for joining us on this harrowing journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Midnight Scary Tales. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that will keep you up at night. Until next time, remember, The truth is often more terrifying than fiction. Stay safe and sleep well if you can. Welcome back to Midnight Scary Tales. Our next story takes us deep into the Appalachian Mountains, where a group of friends stumbled into a place that time and sanity seem to have forgotten. If you're brave enough to continue, let's uncover the horrifying truth of the Whispering Woods. In the summer of 2019, 4 college friends, Rachel, Mike, Sarah, and Tom, decided to go on a weekend camping trip in a remote part of the Appalachian Mountains. The area was known for its stunning views and pristine wilderness, but it also had a darker reputation. Locals called it the Whispering Woods, warning visitors to stay away after dark. Rachel laughed off the warnings, calling them small town superstition, and the group set out with high spirits and enough supplies to last 3 days. Their first night was uneventful. They set up camp near a babbling brook, roasted marshmallows, and shared ghost stories. As the fire died down, Sarah thought she heard faint whispers coming from the trees. She chalked it up to the wind and didn't mention it to the others. Next day, they decided to hike deeper into the woods. As they ventured further, the air grew unnaturally still, and the dense canopy blocked out most of the sunlight. That's when they found it, a narrow, overgrown trail that wasn't marked on their map. Against Mike's protests, the group decided to follow it. The whispers Sarah had heard the night before returned, faint but insistent. The trail ended at a dilapidated cabin, hidden among the trees. Its windows were boarded up and the door hung ajar. Inside, the air was damp and carried the stench of decay. On the walls were strange symbols, etched deep into the wood, and in the center of the room stood a crude stone altar stained with something dark and dried. Rachel joked nervously, "Well, this is how horror movies start." But Tom, visibly uneasy, said they should leave. That night, they camped a short distance away from the cabin. Rachel, Sarah, and Tom woke up screaming simultaneously, each describing the same nightmare. A shadowy figure with glowing red eyes whispering their names. Mike, who hadn't slept, confessed he'd heard whispers all night, growing louder as the hours passed. "They're not random," he said. "They're calling us back to the cabin." By morning, Rachel was gone. Her sleeping bag was empty and her boots were missing. The group searched frantically, calling her name, but their shouts were swallowed by the oppressive silence of the forest. Then they heard it, her voice, faint and distant, calling for help. They followed the sound, which led them back to the cabin. Inside, they found Rachel standing at the altar, her back to them, her head tilted unnaturally, and she was muttering in a language none of them recognized. "Rachel?" Sarah called out, her voice trembling. Rachel turned slowly, her eyes black as coal. She smiled, a wide, unnatural grin, and said in a distorted voice, "You shouldn't have come here." The door slammed shut, and the cabin filled with the sound of guttural whispers rising to a deafening roar. Mike grabbed Sarah and Tom, pulling them out through a broken window. As they ran, they could hear Rachel's laughter echoing through the trees. The 3 managed to find their way back to civilization, but Rachel was never seen again. Authorities searched the area but found no trace of her or the cabin. Mike, Sarah, and Tom have never spoken about that night again, each plagued by nightmares and the faint sound of whispers that seem to follow them wherever they go. The Appalachian Mountains are home to many secrets, but the Whispering Woods remains one of its darkest mysteries. Did Rachel fall victim to a supernatural force, or was it something else entirely? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: not all trails are meant to be explored. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Scary Tales for more terrifying true stories. And remember, the woods are quiet for a reason. Story number 3, The Silent Room. Welcome back to Midnight Scary Tales. Our final story tonight unravels the sinister mystery of a forgotten room hidden within the walls of an old hotel. This true story will leave you questioning what's real and what's better left undiscovered. In 2008, Melissa, a freelance travel writer, checked into the historic Blackwood Hotel in Chicago. Known for its vintage charm and checkered past, the hotel was a favorite among history buffs. Melissa had planned a 3-night stay to write a feature about the property. On her first night, the desk clerk, an elderly man named Edward, seemed overly cautious. He handed her the key and said firmly, "Stay out of room 214, it's locked for a reason." Melissa, curious but respectful, agreed. The first 2 nights passed uneventfully. On her final day, while photographing the hotel for her article, Melissa noticed something strange. A narrow, unmarked door tucked behind a faded tapestry on the second floor. Peeling back the tapestry, she discovered it led to room 214. A chill ran through her as she realized the door's lock was broken, and it stood slightly ajar. Against her better judgment, she pushed it open. Room 214 was unlike the rest of the hotel. The walls were covered in peeling black wallpaper, and the air was thick with the smell of mildew. A single chair sat in the center of the room, its leather cracked and stained. On the floor was an old phonograph, its needle stuck in a groove, repeating a faint, eerie melody. Melissa felt an overwhelming sense of unease but couldn't bring herself to leave. She began taking photos documenting the bizarre scene. That's when she noticed the writing. Scrawled across the walls in jagged handwriting were messages. "Don't listen to them. The room lies. She's watching." The words seemed to move as she read them, shifting like shadows. Melissa backed away, her heart pounding, but tripped over the phonograph. The needle jumped, and the music stopped. The silence was deafening at first, but then Melissa heard it. A faint whisper coming from the chair. Slowly, she turned to see a figure seated there. A woman in a tattered black dress, her face obscured by her long, matted hair. The woman began to speak, her voice low and guttural. "You shouldn't have come here," she said. "It's too late now." Suddenly, the door slammed shut and the room grew impossibly cold. Melissa screamed as the whispers multiplied, surrounding her, drowning out her thoughts. In a blind panic, Melissa threw herself against the door until it burst open. She ran down the hall, her screams echoing through the hotel. When she reached the lobby, she tried to tell Edward what had happened, but he looked at her with a mix of fear and resignation. "I told you not to go in there," he said softly. "That room isn't meant for the living." Melissa fled the hotel and returned home, vowing never to write the article. But the horror didn't end there. When she developed the photos, every image of room 214 was distorted, with shadowy figures lurking in the corners. In one photo, the woman in the chair stared directly at the camera, her hollow eyes burning with hatred. Melissa's health deteriorated rapidly. She began hearing whispers at night, and her dreams were plagued by the woman from the chair. A month later, she was found dead in her apartment. The cause of death was listed as heart failure, but those who knew her believed she had been marked by whatever haunted room 214. The Blackwood Hotel has since closed its doors, but locals claim they still hear faint music coming from the second floor, accompanied by the whispers of those who never left. The silent room remains a chilling reminder that some places hold secrets best left undiscovered. If you ever find yourself in an old hotel, remember, not every door is meant to be opened. Thank you for joining us tonight on Midnight Scary Tales. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying, true tales. Until next time, stay safe, and don't look too